So in the last video, we explained how to calculate the electric field and the depletion width. And I outlined of a PN junction. And I outlined the procedure that we were going to use to do it. And in this video, we're actually going to carry out the integration. We're going to be very precise, make sure everything's kosher. So if we've got the charge as a function of x, and so this is x, then we know that there's going to be a certain amount of negative charge on the p side of the semiconductor, followed by a certain amount of positive charge on the n side semiconductor. So if we draw out the PN junction just next to this, there's going to be a certain width in which we have purely ionized donor atoms, xn, and a width where we have a certain amount of purely ionized acceptor atoms, xp. We know that the concentration of acceptor atoms in the on the p side is just Na, or the acceptor dopant concentration, and on the n side, we know that the donor concentration is just Nd. So we know that this charge, the charge density is Qnd, and the charge density down there should be Qna, because those are the acceptors. And the charge density up here is Qnd. And Nd and Na are typically given in units of per centimeter cubed. So they're a charge density per volume. And so now to actually find the electric field and the depletion width. To do it, we're going to cheat a little bit. So we're going to use we're going to essentially do things one at a time. So we're going to start with the negative charge, which is going to be here minus Q times Na, that's the charge density. We know that the electric field should look like this, right? It's a downward sloping electric field. And we know that the voltage, since it's the negative integral of the electric field, should be sloping upwards like this. And so we're going to say that our coordinate system for this part of the problem is x. And so x is going to go from 0 to xp, because that's our depletion width on the p side. And so if we want to actually find the electric field, we know that it's just the integral of the charge density rho over epsilon silicon times dx, and rho we just know is minus Qna, so it's the integral of minus Qna from 0, because we know that the value of the electric field should be 0 at 0, to some value x. And so this equation is valid divided by epsilon silicon dx. And so this equation is valid for x is greater than or equal to 0 and x is less than or equal to xp. Okay, we actually perform the integration. Nothing here is dependent on x, so it's just minus Qna over epsilon silicon times x. And if we want the voltage as a function of x, then we just take the negative integral of the electric field inside this region, dx, and that just becomes, the negatives cancel each other, we get positives, and the x just becomes 1/2 x squared. So this should be 1/2 Qna over epsilon silicon times x squared. And this is again valid for x greater than or equal to 0 and x less than or equal to xp. Well, we're going to do something that's kind of cheating. We want to find the total voltage VBI. So I'm going to say that the total voltage VBI is the voltage contributed or dropped, if you like, by this negative charge, plus the voltage contributed by the positive charge, which we haven't drawn yet, but it's going to be up here. So if I evaluate this expression, the total voltage contributed is just the voltage for x evaluated at, oh, this should be xp, X equals XP, right? Because that's the maximum value of voltage that we get for this equation. So the V, let's call this VP, is just 1/2 QNA over epsilon silicon times XP squared. And if you're wondering why I'm doing this, it's because I was puzzling over how to actually solve this problem for a long time. And the only way I can think of to do it without an absurd amount of calculus and math is this way. So this might seem a little strange, but that's why I'm doing it this way. So let's just write that result up here. VP is just 1/2 QNA over epsilon silicon times XP squared. Okay, now let's think about the voltage from the positive charge. So we know that the positive charge on our graph looks like this. It's got a value of Q times ND, that's the charge density as a function of distance. And we know that the electric field should end up looking like this. And forgive me for drawing electric fields and charges and voltages all on the same axes. I hope that that doesn't bother you too much. The units don't really matter here. It's sort of just the visual understanding that I'm trying to convey. And we know that the voltage should look like this. So outside this region, it should just be flat. And inside, it should be a downward sloping parabola. And so we want to find the height of this downward sloping parabola. So we want to find this total height here. So this height from XP to XN plus XP. But we're going to switch up the coordinate system to do this. So we're going to say that, well, actually, I'm going to change this coordinate system. I'm going to call this new coordinate system X prime. And X prime's origin is here. And it goes from 0 to XN. So I basically just destroyed our old coordinate system and put in a new one, just so we can find the height of this voltage, or of this voltage drop. So if we want to calculate the height of the voltage drop, and we're only worried about the magnitudes here, then we just need to integrate this electric field in our new coordinate system and then plug in the bounds, and we're done. So the magnitude of the electric field is just, well, it's the integral of the charge density, so QND divided by epsilon silicon times dx, and it goes from 0 to some value x, and really I should be talking about x prime here, but we don't really need to, because we're being abusive to our poor coordinate system. So if we evaluate this, it's just QND over epsilon silicon times x prime, and then if we're interested in the voltage dropped, because we're not worried about this constant. We know what the constant is. It's VBI. And this is Vn, this is Vp. So if we're interested in V then as a function of x prime, it's just the constant, which I'm going to ignore. So let's say delta V as a function of x prime. We just need to integrate this guy. So QND over epsilon silicon x prime dx prime from 0 to x prime. And again, it's just same thing as before, 1/2 x prime squared. So 1/2 QND over epsilon silicon times x prime squared. And we're actually interested, if we're interested in the total voltage drop, Vn, then we want to evaluate this x prime at x prime equals xn. So if we plug that in, that's just 1/2 QND xn squared over epsilon silicon. And the nice thing about this is we've got an answer for Vn that is independent of the coordinate system that we use to calculate it in. So we don't need to worry about the fact that I've just abused calculus here, because we are only interested in the voltage drops, Vp and Vn, so that we can get the total built-in potential VBI. So we know Vn plus Vp is equal to VBI. That's just graphically shown above. And Vn we saw was 1/2 QND times xn squared divided by epsilon silicon. And VP is a very similar expression, 1/2 QNA xp squared divided by epsilon silicon. And those two are equal to VBI. And we know that we can solve for VBI if we have the doping concentrations Na and Nd. I'm not going to write out here the expansion of that just because it makes this expression more unwieldy than it already is. Now, the last thing, if we want to solve this equation for xn and xp, remember that our semiconductor is supposed to be charge neutral. So if we integrate this negative charge and we integrate this positive charge, we should get a result of a value of 0. So this negative charge, minus QNA, and this positive charge, QND, they should be integrated to have the same value. Or another way of saying that is QND times XN should equal QNA times XP. Because the integral of a rectangle is just the height of the rectangle times the base of the rectangle. It's just the area. So if we cancel these, we see that xn is just equal to Na over Nd times xp. So we can plug that in above here, and we can solve our equation for the depletion width on the xn side. So if we plug that in, and I'm not going to belabor the algebra here, but you plug it in, then you move everything to one side, and then you take the square root of the result, you'll get that xn is equal to the square root of 2 times epsilon silicon times VBI divided by Nd times 1 plus Nd over Na. And you'll get a similar answer for xp. You'll get that xp is equal to the square root of 2 times epsilon silicon VBI. And here, instead of Nd, it's Na. So Na times 1 plus Na over Nd. So these are interesting expressions, kind of complicated, but also kind of interesting, because we see that the n-side depletion width, xn, actually gets smaller as we increase the doping on that side. So if Nd goes up, then the distance over which that charge is spread, xn, goes down. And it goes down like a function of Nd times 1 plus Nd over Na, all under a square root sign. So if we increase Nd, we're going to greater than linearly decrease xn. And so these are the final results. And if you're interested in the total depletion width, typically called WDEP, that's just xn plus xp. But I find that these individual expressions for xn and xp are much easier to remember than their sum. And it's fairly easy to switch from one to the other if you know which quantities you have for in each case. So xn depends on 1 over Nd, which is the doping on that side. xp depends on 1 over Na, which is the doping on the p side. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any questions, feel free to post in the comment section, and I'll see you next time.